Become the version of yourself that you admire and give that version of yourself to the world. That's the topic of this video today, but I'm going to explain this in all the variables and everything that I've learned over the years about manifestation and how that correlates with Neville Goddard and what he was teaching. Neville Goddard taught to think from the event and not of the event. So when you're thinking of something, you're thinking of yourself. You're not thinking from a new version of yourself that you're giving to the world. You have to think from the event, become the version of yourself that you admire, and you give that version of yourself to the world. And this is so important as it relates to manifestation and getting to that next level, because a lot of people that I coach, when they're building different brands and building their brand for them and developing a business, they say, this is not really for me, this coaching stuff and this brand building. Once they get into it, that's your problem. It's because when you're building a brand and you're building a YouTube channel, or you're building an Instagram channel, it's not about you. It's about them. You're helping them. That's when people are still in that state of thinking of something that Neville Goddard talked about. You have to think from the event, and thinking from the event is when you become the version of yourself that you admire, the person that you want to be, that has everything that you desire, and you admire that person. Then you give that person to the world, and then the work becomes simple and easy, and it's habit forming, and you develop into this new version of yourself where it's just simple, where you wake up every day and you're thinking, wow, I get to help 10,000 people today, or I get to assist 100,000 people, however far you want to go. But the further you can take that, the further you will go with thinking from and thinking of. And I've done a lot of this, I've experienced a lot of different varieties of this. Like I used to have gambling. I know I teach some of that stuff before, and I have, like lottery winning meditations, because I used to be that version of myself that I like to do that. And it drew me in to the law of assumption to learn more and more and more. And that's what attracted me in, initially. And that's why I teach that now, because a lot of times when people are just trying to win the lottery, or they're trying to win this for themselves, they're thinking about themselves only, that stuff is not going to be sustained in their life. And they're gonna get the feel of it, and they're gonna like it, and they're gonna want it, and they're gonna start learning more once they start winning. It's gonna eventually lead them to the truth. And the truth is, it's not about you, it's about them. It's about everyone else, and how much service and value you can provide to the greatest number of people. And you have to understand this as it relates to manifestation. If you want a sustained, long-lasting, fulfilling, peaceful life, it's not about you. It's about them. It's about developing a concept of yourself that you admire and giving that concept to the world. And I learned a lot of this through physical training. A habit building and becoming that version of myself. Who do I look up to? Who do you look up to? Ask yourself that question. What type of person do you look up to? And start becoming that version, but your own style of that person. But you can see the similarities with those people that are successful. If you ask a successful person how they're successful and what they're doing, they're going to tell you how many people's lives they've changed, and how many problems they've solved for people, because they became that version of themselves that was able to solve problems. They came up with some idea. And the trick to this is, as we all know, we follow Neville Goddard, is you fall asleep in this new state of consciousness. You become that person. You act as if, okay? It's essentially the same thing as acting as if you already are the person that you admire, and you're giving that person to the world, and you're playing out a scene, a mental rehearsal in your mind, something that I mastered, while I was in prison, having all the time on my hands through meditation and practicing my attention, developing my present moment awareness, and loving life, and finding peace within myself, and slowing my mind down, developing this part of myself. And that's what I want everyone to find. But that's what it is. And physical training as well, pushing through failure and pain, is another huge thing that you can do, training yourself to become a new person throughout the day. Because that's all you're doing throughout the day, is practicing for that moment of inception as you go to sleep at night, who the subconscious mind feels you as. And if you can start developing these skills, or this new version, or developing yourself into this new person as you go to sleep at night, the more that you do that, the better that you get at it. And the more the subconscious mind feels that, And then you eventually you got it. And once you get it, you're gonna look back on the old version and say, who was that person? That's the way I look at it now. Like even me 5 years ago, I look at that person, I'm like, I don't even know who that person is. Or even a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't even recognize myself anymore, because I'm constantly becoming new versions of myself and falling asleep in those new versions, becoming a new version of myself that I admire, and then giving that person to the world. And I'm just gonna keep going, because that's true fulfillment. That's enlightenment. Is when you experience that, and it's not about me, it's about everyone else. But that's when it becomes you, because everyone is you in the simulation. I am consciousness. I am the illusion of separateness is like it is. It's just an illusion. It's not real. Everyone is you. So if you're just trying to help you, that's just one little fish in the ocean. But when you can help 100 fish in a small pond, you're helping so many more people, or millions of people, millions of fish in the ocean. The more fish that you can reach, as an example. But physical training can really get you to that next level, because if you get into the gym and you're lifting, say, a couple 100 pounds, and you got 10 good reps you can get, but you tell yourself before you get into that set that this is only 100 pounds, or this is only 50 pounds, and I'm gonna do 25. You get to that 10 and you're starting to feel it. You get right past that, and usually you can only do 10, but you get 15 and you're like, that's failure. You said, no, I'm gonna do 5 more. I'm gonna push it even further. I'm gonna push this even further and get another 5. And then you wait another 10 seconds, you get another 5. And you're pushing through this failure. What you're doing is thinking from a new version of yourself as you're pushing through this failure with your sets. Whatever that may be, squats or cross training, CrossFit, anything that you're doing. When your old version of yourself is telling you to stop, that's when you push through, because you're a new version of yourself now. You have transferred to a new version. What would that new version of yourself do? You're acting as if I had the body shape that I wanted now, I would be able to do 25 of these, or I would be able to do 30 of these. So that's what you're pushing to do. And the old version of yourself can only do 10. So you're not doing 10. You're going to push yourself, of course, without harming yourself too. But it's the idea, it's the mental facilities that you encapsulate during these processes of pushing yourself through failure. And you're doing that in your life as well. But all that's doing is developing you into a new version of yourself for as you go to sleep at night, whether you can do that many reps or not. A lot of times I'll go into the gym and I'll be doing bench press, and I'll have 405 on there, but I will trick myself to believe that there's only 2 plates on each side, and I'll do more reps. It's because I have that mental clarity to where I can slow time down and I can make myself believe something that's not actually true. And it pushes me to that next level. And as you go through your life, you can do this with anything. The more that you do this, the better you get at it. The better you get at disregarding the simulation, because that's all you're living in is a simulation. It's just a simulation. It's just a holographic video game that you're living in. And if you can get yourself to believe something that is not real in the simulation in front of you, but you can make yourself believe that, then it'll happen. I've felt it. I've seen it. I do it every day. You're living in a simulation. It's time to start controlling that. Get a hold of your attention, develop your attention in present moment awareness, and start becoming the version of yourself that you admire, and give that person to the world, and realize it's not about you, it's about them. And you will be unstoppable. And start practicing throughout the day right now. Practice throughout the day right now, and develop yourself throughout the day. Act as if, and then fall asleep in this new character, this new version of yourself. Fall asleep as if you are this new version of yourself. And that is like the shortcut, it's the hack. Most people just do this without using the sleep technique. But I mean, you can do this manually, or you can really work yourself up before you go to sleep. Like you can spend a good 30 or 45 minutes, depending on how badly you want this, before you go to sleep at night. You feel yourself into this new version of yourself. You spend 30 minutes before you go to sleep. I am this new version. And play pretend. I'm this new version of myself that I admire. But you got to figure all this out first. Who do you admire? And that person, that's the person that you are now as you're falling asleep. And you just feel yourself into this new version of yourself. And it's fun. You know, it can be fun. And as you develop the attention and present moment awareness, you get better and better and better at this. And then you find that helping other people is actually true happiness. That comfort is not happiness. It's not fulfillment. It doesn't make you instant gratification. It does not solve anything. It does not make you happy. So don't look forward to comfort, because that's not happiness. Happiness is not connected or correlated with comfort whatsoever. Happiness is with peace and fulfillment. And that's when you become the version of yourself that you admire, and you give that to the world. I love you all. Stay tuned for the next video. Message me on Instagram, and we could talk further about this. I love you all. I'll see you there.